My name is Luna, and welcome to my first episode of a little series I am doing called Kicks, which is kind of just short for keeping it casual. I know it sounds dumb and cringy, but I made it when I came up with the concept when I was a little bit younger and a little bit more naive, but I'm going to keep it because I don't like fucking up my dreams of when I don't like fucking up with my plans that I had when I was younger, okay? This series is a way for me to stay consistent and post more long-form content in the new year. These videos will feature me talking about various things like things I'm currently reading, usually a minor literary analysis or review. I'm thinking of reading Poppy War, maybe Song of Achilles. I am thinking of tipping my toe into fantasy manhwa because I do read that more regularly than I read like some novels because again, they are like 500 plus pages. I don't always have the time or the energy to consume 500 words, but I'm trying, because last year I did only read roughly, I think, 6 books, which is not nearly enough. Yeah, and I should get better at it, but, you know, it is what it is. And I did well last year. I read for like 6 months, not even 6, I read 8 books. I read consistently, and then I stopped reading because I had to deal with like school because I was writing prelims. That's a different thing. I will get to that part. Anyway, so these videos will feature me talking about books, minor literary analysis or reviews, my editing journey as a writer of my own fantasy novel, because I did start my own fantasy novel at the age of 16 on a random day. On a random Wednesday, maybe. I don't really know. All I know is I started it in December and I was like, oh, let me write a fantasy book because I think I could eat up. I thought I was like, no, I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. I am in the middle of editing it myself. I am exhausted and I haven't touched the book in like a couple days, but we will get to that. Anyway, again, so this video will also include random 2 a.m. thoughts that I have and I want to write in a diary. All of these things will be done in the same niche of fantasy and fiction and general writing, ensuring a on-brand consistency. For example, a random 2 a.m. thought I had was about why all gods are either evil or incredibly weak and powerless, and how that relates to our own depictions of mythology and so on and so forth. I just gained a nice following of 200 people, which is a lot considering I only started posting niche short form content roughly 6 months ago. I do think I have come pretty far. Okay, because again, 200 people is like a large amount of people. You could fit 200 people into like a small little hole. So like, again, that's like a huge improvement, especially when I started out with like only having my family following me, which was like 4 people, you know? So like, thank you guys for subscribing. Please subscribe, okay? I'm trying to get myself to like maybe 500 by the end of the year. I know that's not that high, but reasonable expectations. Anyway, you guys don't know anything about me, right? So I decided this would be the perfect video to give you guys some insight into who you are engaging with, right? I recently turned 18 on the 12th of December. I am a South African who is very, very woke, which makes sense since my country is pretty woke as a whole, being one of the first countries to legalize same-sex marriage. Politics is a very crucial subject to me because I aspire to become a politician, or a nurse, because that might be more feasible than becoming a politician, because politicians require me to do some shady shit for the sake of money and votes, and I'm not really trying to do that. And like, South Africa has a corrupt political system as it is, purely because of like the amount of politicians who are inherently stealing funds from like the people, which again, semantics. So, and I want to make a positive change and impact on the world, which makes these 2 careers natural fits. I would like to become president maybe one day. I'm young, and that probably makes my video essays a little less credible with my lack of lived experience, but doing hours worth of research is not that hard when all you have to worry about in the moment, honestly, is your own education, because I'm planning on studying this year, because in like a couple days time, I think I'm going to be able to post this the day of recording. So like literally on Monday, I find out whether or not I can or cannot go to university, and whether or not I have failed my senior year. The anxiety is killing me, people. Anyway, now that I've introduced myself, it is time for some basic housekeeping. Do not bean soup theory me. especially if you want to actually engage with the material that I've presented in any of my essays. Because using anecdotal material as evidence for your critique against me makes your argument less valid. Especially if all I'm doing in said essay is analyzing trends hundreds of people have seen, studied, and written about before me. I promise you, I'm just going to ignore you from now onwards, which sucks because a lot of you have well thought out and articulate critiques of the actual work and my production quality, but come out the gate with your arms trying to get defensive, which is problematic, and you kind of need to unpack that in your own way. Also, if you haven't watched my last video, please go watch that video. And I think there are a lot of people who, not a lot, few, there's like 5 of y'all that made some really, really good critiques against my argument. I found your critiques based purely because you are right. There is no fantasy is your starting point in the pipeline. You have to have already been on the pipeline to the alt-right for fantasy to push you further down there, but that's not what I was trying to analyze. What I was analyzing is how fantasy plays a role in the alt-right pipeline. But I think I might not have made that very clear in my last essay, so for that I do say I'm sorry, and I will try to make my next essays a little bit more valid, right? I have 4 video essays planned out for the next 4 months or so, all in the theme of fantasy, but one is more scientific and I can't wait to start researching it because it is such an interesting topic. So stay tuned, like this video, and subscribe to my channel for future content. This video is more of a rant based on my own personal analysis of the books I have read, so you can argue and state your own opinion in the comments, but you must be polite or I won't respond. You might be like, okay, that's you being toxic positive. You can critique something and be nice about it. The bare minimum of critiques is it's like a compliment sandwich, right? You say something nice, you critique, and then you say something nice to finish it off. I very much have an ego problems, and I do internalize any and all comments and critiques you guys have of my work, which is like a me problem and not in fact a you problem, but I'm an insecure teenager, and reading your comments does make me have slight minor panic attacks because I think people hate me and think I'm stupid. And I do literally think about your words maybe 5 times a day on the day of your post, and I read all of it, right? I might not respond, but I do read it, I internalize it, and then I think about it for a couple minutes because yes, I do have mental problems do run in my family. I think I'm devolving, this is getting to the point of TMI. Let me move on. For my 4th point, do not ever expect me to over-explain something in a video essay, right? I will give you a hyperbolic statement that are based on general consensus and stats, for example. I either need you to get it or to just move past it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. And I know that kind of makes your video essays oh, then what's the point of you making the statement if you're not going to explain it? Because the people that are supposed to get the statement are supposed to be watching the videos. The people that don't, unfortunately, my videos are not necessarily made for you. I do have a target audience. And there's literally nothing wrong with that. Now, the main reason why I'm talking about this is because in my last video, I made a hyperbolic statement about Draco Malfoy, right? And the point flew over people's head because people didn't understand why I was calling him that. But my target audience is supposed to know that because my target audience are other people of color who consumed Harry Potter media and were like, I would have never forgiven Draco Malfoy. He was raised with Nazi ideals, mistreated everyone who was not like him. Sure, he was pressured to do it and it was indoctrinated as a kid, but that does not excuse his actions, thereby leaving the title of Nazi forever branded on his name. People often be like, okay, but later on in the series or in the movies, I'm gonna use the movies for example because everybody's watched the movies and not that many people have read the conclusion, but in the movies, Draco Malfoy, or people have not really read the fucking Cursed Child book. I literally skimmed it, didn't give a fuck about it. I'm sorry. I tuned out when I found out that one of the kids was the child of Voldemort. Fuck no. Literally, the plot doesn't make sense anymore. Anyway, this was pre J.K. Rowling trans bullshit when I was a literal child. So excuse me for actually wanting to read books. Anyway, like I'm saying, Draco Malfoy never actually apologized for his bullshit. You kind of just get the consensus that people have moved on and forgiven him and they view him as a victim of circumstance. But at the end of the day, he still did horrible shit, and I don't like forgiving people who are bad people. He called multiple kids slurs and was very much classist to a lot of them. And he also owned slaves, like, which again is so concerning, the amount of fan fiction the fandom had. I say this because the fandom's kind of dying now, or the fandom that does exist is using AI content, which, I hate AI, so fuck. Wait, why am I saying this as if I'm a part of the fandom? Anyway, I don't understand the issue. Like, it's so stupid to me. Like, the whole thing of, like, people wanting to forgive Draco Malfoy has never made sense to me, because, like, oh my god, he chickened out of killing Dumbledore. Okay? He still said those words, though. He still bullied. He was still a horrible fucking person since growing up and victimized a lot of children. I don't think those actions get to be excused because he decided not to commit murder. Thank you very much. Anyway, you guys are too willing to forgive and forget the actions of villains for the sake of redemption arcs because it makes them cool, or smutty fanfictions because you find the actor who plays them attractive. But I don't forget, and I never will. Today's video is simply meant to be an introduction to who I am. I started YouTube because I'm a maladaptive daydreamer who has many different opinions on various topics, and I want to inform myself and others on said topics. Again, I need you guys to know something. I'm not here to help you form opinions. I'm here to just give you information, right? The information I give you is very much blanketed. You are allowed to form your own conclusions. I don't really care what you do. I'm not here to tell you what you're supposed to do with your life. You will live however you want to live, and you will be either a good person or a bad person. And again, free will. It's completely up to you. Me personally, I'm just gonna drop information and you can move on with your life if you want to. Now, today is supposed to be one of those videos where I share my opinions and rant and so on, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to do a short little follow-up to my last video, like officially now. And some criticisms I got, the main one that bothered me was people being unable to see the correlation between fantasy and conservatism, right? Like, I need you guys to grasp that. Fantasy and conservatism linked, and I'm about to explain why. One of the explanations for why is kind of lazy in like the terms of like all technical media ever written and consumed is technically speaking conservative, purely because of the way that the world was shaped and formed over time. But semantics. Anyway, some definitions for you so I can say words and you will know what they mean. Conservatism, or conservative, the political definition. Favoring free enterprise, private ownership, and socially traditional ideas. Remember those three parts: free enterprise, private ownership, and socially traditional ideas. Capitalism, an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit. Do you see where the correlation's starting to hit when I say all media ever made technically has conservative messaging in it? Okay? Propaganda. Information, especially of a biased and misleading nature, used to promote a particular cause, doctrine, or point of view. Alt-right. In the US, because there are other countries, and alt-right in other countries look very differently from what it looks like in America, a right-wing ideological movement characterized by a rejection of mainstream politics and by the use of online media to disseminate provocative content, often expressing opposition to racial, religious, or gender equality. Alt-right. Remember that last sentence. Often expressing opposition to racial, religious, or gender equality. All fantasy written is conservative because of one or more main flaws. These flaws can be either the fact that they all have capitalistic systems, they often have royal families or aristocrats, and often the reader is supposed to root for one aristocrat or one aristocratic family, because noble families are typically the main characters in most fantasy media, right? And the reader is often supposed to view this main character as one of the good ones, which is a dumb trope because if you are a part of the ruling class that benefits from the suffering and exploitation of those in a lower class, you can never be one of the good ones, even if your wealth and power simply falls in your lap. The refusal to rid yourself of those material goods or to help others makes you bad. This is why we say, eat the rich. They will often spread harmful messaging and stereotypes of women. They often demonize sex work. Sex work and sex trafficking are two different things, and though one can lead to the other, it is inherently a bad idea to assume so. Sex trafficking is bad, but sex work is not, which is, again, the demonization of sex work is a conservative ideology, and most fantasy novels often advocate for one religion being the true way, often demonizing the other religions in said universe, which is another conservative thingy. It's called religious conservatism. Look it up. The refusal to see any feminine trait as strong is also a conservative viewpoint. Look at every female warrior. She is often described in a masculine terms. For to be strong, she must exude masculinity with short hair and a destroyed uterus, written from Puppy War. The authors often gaslight you and say this is her choice. No, it isn't. It's the author's choice, which unveils biases that the author already had. And I need people to understand this. You might think for the plot it's good messaging, but it's there because the author wanted it to be. Anything in anything is there because the person who made it wanted it to be there. Every writer of fantasy is already swayed in the direction of conservatism, whether or not they would like to admit it. As amongst the many different types of conservatism, they all favor a common economic and political system: capitalism. And in most books in the genre, the main political system is capitalism. And I say most because I have not read all fantasy books. Maybe there's books about socialism and communism. And if you know about those books, please drop them in the comment sections below. Therefore, by my conclusion, most fantasy books are drenched in conservatism, and this is not a new information. And this information will most likely change nothing about your reading habits, or mine actually, because the conservative messaging only reinforces already formed opinions. When an opinion is reinforced enough times, it can become extreme, hence the connection to the radical and extreme alt-right community. Conservative media is propaganda because it's often quiet and misleading. It's misleading in the nature of the book itself will attempt to have a conversation about these difficult topics like misogyny, religion, and so on and so forth, trying to fight the conservative messaging, but it is in fact really, really rare to have a book that does these things well. Not every book is written well. Not every book tackles everything well, which is why we praise some books for being good at this, and then we just have these other books who try to do this but ultimately fail because of a couple of cases where their writing is weak and therefore still act as conservative messaging, even though the point of the book in hiding behind very progressive words and clever diction, often trying to confuse you into hating something that you're not supposed to hate. But it is there, and it often promotes one way of thinking, not outright in the voice of the narrator, but often in the voice of the characters in the background. You might not even notice it, but I do. You need to understand this thing. Conservative media doesn't exist, or like you think it doesn't exist, because the media you consume is inherently conservative, because that is, typically speaking, still kind of the norm. Look at America right now. Look at the World War III news that is coming up. Like, we are on the breaking point of society, and I need you guys to get this. This is the most progressive we have ever been, which is terrifying. Right? Like, it is inherently terrifying that this point that we are currently in is the most progressive the world has ever been, right? In the terms, mind you, we have AI destroying the planet. We have deportation armies forming around in America. We have corrupt politicians finding their way into election cycles after they stole millions and millions and millions of rands. I'm specifically speaking about my country, right? It's so concerning how far we have fallen, but unfortunately, again, we are still at the most progressive the world has ever been, because the general masses are progressive. It's just we're regressing mentally and politically, and like in the terms of who currently holds power, we're regressing, and that's bad. But the general masses and the people are evolving and progressing, if you will. Anyway, that's it for my little follow-up. It's literally just 2 paragraphs. And I'm saying that as I'm looking at my script, literally only 2 paragraphs. Okay, but thank you for watching this video, and I hope you know your support for me and my channel means the world. If you found this video informative or even slightly interesting, like this video and maybe subscribe. And if you are also from South Africa, please put the South African flag in the comments. Okay, bye people.